Well, I just saw a stat today that 70% of internet users in the States are now watching TV on their computer. So I think it's already happening. And I think we're aware of that change. That we offer the first 20 minutes of our 6 o'clock show online. And every other part of the show is available online. You know, we're quite aware that we have to deliver news that people can watch anywhere, anytime, basically.
I think there's two aspects to it, and one of them is definitely the availability aspect in terms of offering content available for download or streaming on your computer. The other aspect, I think, is more of a kind of an interactive one. One of the things that I think will become more interesting in the future is the ability to interact while you're watching something, maybe if it's a live event. We've done it to a small extent at CBC so far, in terms of being able to offer a video of a live event while it's happening, and then enabling people to interact with others while it's happening in that space. I think that's a pretty interesting experience. One thing that I've seen a couple of TV programs do recently is actually run tweets over the top of their program, and I think it was Fringe, which, okay, I'll watch it. They called it the Tweet Pete, which I think was maybe a bit gimmicky, but what it was basically an opportunity for them to show a so-called encore presentation of the last series, but have people talking about it while it was being shown and interacting with the actors, and all of this was appearing on the screen. I'm not sure that's necessarily kind of something that will go right the way across television, but I thought it was an interesting experience and certainly a good way of enabling people to engage further with the actual TV watching.
If I could just say, I mean, I think that actually that being able to interact with what you're watching is actually, in some ways it's a threat, but in some ways I think it may actually save conventional television and the idea that you watch something at a certain time. So for a while I hadn't been really watching anything in real time almost at all, like everything had been either PVR'd or on Rogers On Demand. But then I watched the Mad Men premiere in real time, and I was watching the Twitter stream while I did, and sort of like the instant analysis, and kind of made it like a lot more fun, right? And so the next couple weeks I did that again. And so I think that as there are more opportunities for people to sort of participate in a broader community while they're watching, because that's what we do with like the Oscars or the presidential inauguration, like things that we watch together in a community. So if you can take that community and make traditional TV a destination with a destination time, I think there's benefits to that.
Just from a citizen journalism or citizen media standpoint, keeping people engaged, I think, is just giving them a voice. As we've been talking about all night, the evolution of media from being a talk at to a talk with is key. And being a non-mainstream site, probably our experience is a lot different than CBC or CTV, because people come to you because they want to have that voice. It's perhaps a lot easier to capture the voice, and when you have people contributing, you just the evolution and the involvement is key to offering. It's a value proposition. It's a value add.
Anyone else could add?
We still answer the phones.
Phones, I remember those.
When people
A fax machine.
The things you tweet on, right?
Yeah, exactly. People phone our newsroom, we actually answer. But I think we understand that a 6 o'clock news or a news show still has a lot to offer to an audience in terms of the sort of the combined energy that goes into a newscast. You've got a couple of hundred people who are working all day that are focusing that energy, and you get a news broadcast that gives you a lot of information. I think there's still a lot of people that want a series of stories presented to them. All of the things we've talked about, I think we have to look for ways to engage people. We have the CTV.ca people working with us in collaboration now. That wasn't happening 5 years ago. So we're talking to them all the time. They're talking to us. They're putting stuff in social media, how to engage the audience. CTV is just trying to work all of this stuff together and try to figure it out like everybody else.
I think it would be, I mean, God forbid that there would be another event like that, but I think that it would actually be a very interesting experience to watch if it happened now. I mean, when 9/11 happened back then, I mean, we did see citizen content in some respects, although it wasn't really called that then in photography and some amateur video, but obviously there wasn't anything like Twitter around. One example I can speak to of something similar was the Mumbai terror attacks last year, when Twitter was around, and it was very interesting to watch it unfold on Twitter. I was at Now Public at the time, and that was something that we monitored very closely, and you would get snippets of information coming through. You know, a lot of it was people retweeting, so it would be people elsewhere in the world retweeting things that they'd read. Some people, not very many, but some actually from the scene or you know, who are actually in Mumbai. I think one of the challenges now, though, is actually making sense of all of that content, because if something like 9/11 did happen again, you would be overwhelmed with the volume of information. So I think one of the challenges for journalists and for people who are developing products is to really try and develop tools to make sense of the content, because you will get a lot of kind of noise, I guess people call it, but also there are some very useful pieces of information in there, and it's trying to extract those pieces of information that actually has more of a journalistic value.
Would blogTO pursue a different kind of angle or a different kind of story to a major disaster on that scale?
Anything where moderately, I mean, we haven't had anything like a major disaster, but sort of some relative examples, things like the fire on Queen Street a couple years ago, you know, the tornado thing that was mentioned earlier, propane explosion, which I think was maybe a year or two ago now. These are things that we almost rely exclusively on crowdsourced content, and really we're just trying to get the information up there, which is often usually just photos and videos primarily, with maybe a little bit of writing, but we're really just sort of presenting the information for people, and then let you know, the party happen in the comment threads, because that's where people are going to chime in with maybe conflicting reports and debate, you know, what the actual story is. We're not really set up, our model's not really one where typically we would, you know, rely on our own, you know, generated content for that kind of story. It would almost exclusively be crowdsourced.